Welcome, Spartans, to Podcast Evolved, your home for Halo. I'm your host, Oren. We have a full crew today. We have David.
Hello, everybody.
Krista.
Hello, everybody.
And Aaron.
Hi, guys.
Welcome, guys. We got a cool episode today. We're launching a new Evolved lore series, Character Dossiers. Very similar to our other lore series. It'll be a couple parts, and we're going to tie it into some of the new releases of the Halo franchise. And we're going to be talking about Blue Team today. So buckle in. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you are a little familiar with who this team is and everybody involved. But before we get into that and introduce how we're going to do this new series, let's talk about some of our other social things. If you are new to the show, welcome. Podcast Evolved is host to a variety of different shows. This is our main show where we talk news and Halo lore. You can find our other episodes of our other shows, Mission Debrief, Halo Book Club, and Builds with Blocks on our website, halopodcastevolved.com. If you're already a fan of the show, we ask you to please rate us and leave a review. We greatly appreciate all the feedback that we receive from our listeners to improve the quality of our shows. If you would like to take a moment to thank all of our patrons for their continued support, thank you guys so much. You definitely have been doing more than just keeping the lights on over these last few months. So thank you. Our patrons receive a variety of exclusive rewards such as early episodes, unique swag, and access to our original soundtrack album featuring 18 songs. You can head over to patreon.com/HaloPodcastEvolved to learn more. And finally, we encourage our listeners to support Audible, where they can enjoy the growing collection of Halo novels all in one place, along with thousands of other novels, guidance wellness programs, and more. Use the URL audibletrial.com/podcastevolved to learn more and start your free trial today. So we have our dossiers. I think I will throw it over to Aaron to kind of introduce what this lore series is, how we're going to approach it for the year, and just kind of lead right into today's topic.
All right, I have favored a way to sort all this out and just realized I forgot to write down the description of what this series is, so I'm going to wing it. Basically, we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago and we were talking about some more things to do on the way to Infinite and things that didn't quite fit in the Road to Infinite bracket, and we came up with the idea of doing some dossiers on characters that could be important in Infinite or may appear in Infinite. Now, there's no guarantees because we still know annoyingly little about it, but we have a few so far. So we've picked the most likely suspects, and then each month we're going to cover a few of them or focus on a particular one depending on who it is. And we're just going to work our way through some of their history, who they are, and basically where we saw them last in the Halo universe, and if we'd like to see them in Infinite and what we think they might be up to. That's the general plan for this series. So we're starting off with a nice, I hope it's a safe bet. It may not be, because there's a small part of me fears they won't be in Infinite, and it's going to make me very sad if these characters only get one outing. But we're going to cover Blue Team. Very specifically, all of Blue Team minus John, because Chief's going to get his own episode towards the end of this series just before Infinite comes out. We're just going to cover Fred, Kelly, and Linda today. We've got some deep history to go in everyone here and details about the Spartans, but a brief quick rundown. Blue Team, if you're not familiar, is the designation for one of the Spartan 2 teams. It basically began back in training. Day one they were given the designation Blue Team, and they've used it ever since along with the others. Blue and red would be the two big ones you think of, and the multiplayer. We occasionally splash out into other colours such as grey, black and green, but blue would be the main guys. So the size and makeup of the team, it's changed over the years from the beginning. At the very start, I believe it was John, Kelly and Sam?
Yes.
Yeah, just the three of them.
It's got up to quite large and then quite small. At one stage, I believe it was just one or two of them. So we're basically just going to run down the guys and everything about them. So like we said, we're going to focus on Fred, Kelly and Linda, and I believe you guys are going to take us through the details on each of them. So who's going to go over Fred?
The current members of Fred.
Current members of Fred.
Fred's multiple people.
But it's Fred's team, right? So Fred Ellsworth. So that's kind of weird seeing his full name there. It's kind of weird to seeing any of these Spartans with their full names. So he was born on the 3rd of April 2511. He is around 49 years of age at the time of Infinite. So quite a bit on. The homeworld he is from is Ballast, which is rumoured to be attacked by the Covenant during the war but successfully defended by the UNSC. The colony is still inhabited at the time of Infinite. His physical traits, he's 7'1", tall in armour, pretty much he's a big guy. 286 pounds, which is a fake number. Black hair with silver streaks, blue-green eyes. He's a handsome man. His rank is Lieutenant Junior Grade. His service number is S104. His talents, so he's a skilled close quarters combatant and marksman. Fred served as the leader of Blue Team from 2552 until present, but deferred command back to Chief on his return after the events of Halo 4. Fred holds the highest rank of active duty Spartan 2s, which is quite interesting when you think about it.
Yeah, and that kind of makes his sort of like reverence to the Master Chief even more so, because Fred outranks him. And I think they even had that moment where they kind of met again. Chief like shows Fred some respect, but then Fred's like, no.
No,
You're the
I
one that
don't
gets
want
the
it.
respect.
Like, you take the lead here. Fred's a good guy. I like Fred. He's a good Spartan.
And he's currently involved in Halo's probably only Spartan love story that's happening right now.
Oh, with Veda. Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, maybe so.
He's got himself a wee girlfriend. I like it.
She rides him.
Krista.
She does.
She did, yeah, that's true.
We will go into more detail about that writing later on in the episode. Who's taking Kelly?
I'll take over Kelly. Kelly Shattuck. She was born September 21st, 2511, so she's about 48, around the time of Infinite. Her home world is Ember, which was attacked by the Covenant towards the end of the war. She is 6'11" feet in armor, 250 pounds without armor, brown hair, blue eyes. Her rank is the petty officer first class. Her service number is S087. And Kelly is known to be the fastest Spartan 2 on record, as well with the quickest reflexes. She's capable of running 40 miles per hour in her Gen 2 armor, and her nickname is the Rabbit. And as of 2558, Kelly is only second to the Master Chief for most operations participated in as a Spartan 2. So she has quite the operational service record. And she also favors the shotgun as well.
Yeah, she's a very busy Spartan.
She gets around, as they say.
She does do a lot. Last up, we have Linda.
I'll take Linda. So, Linda Pravdin, she was born on March 19th, 2511. Her age is 49-ish years of age at the time of Infinite. Her homeworld was Verant, which was completely glassed by the Covenant. Her physical traits, she is a 7-foot tall lady. She's 242 pounds without her armor, red hair, and green eyes. So she's a looker. Her rank is Petty Officer First Class. Her service number is S058. And her talents, as we know, Linda is a sniper and a scout. She is the most capable lone wolf of all the Spartan 2s, and one of the top snipers in the entire UNSC. And also, if you have not read the book First Strike, she does some epic, crazy maneuvers as a sniper on that. It's actually kind of insane, some of the stuff she does, like upside down, and she's a really cool lady, and I like her. Also, her sniper is called Nornfang in Halo 5, which is pretty cool.
It did make a point in Halopedia when I was looking her up. It said one of the top snipers, and a part of me was going like, there can't be
There's
anyone.
no way someone's better than Linda.
It's not confirmed, but who the fuck's gonna shoot better than she can?
Yeah, it's confirmed here on
I
Podcast
am.
Evolved that she is in fact the best.
Right. Before we dive into like the history of Blue Team and their operations, we have a list of red shirts to go through here.
Oh, it hurts.
Notable members of Blue Team throughout the years that did not make it.
Spoilers, by the way.
Yes, and just to say, these are not all of the members that didn't make it. These are just the big ones. There are others, so yes, I've left some particularly smaller ones out. First up, we've got Zam034. He was the first Spartan 2 to die. He died in the Battle of Chai Seti, and we'll mention that in a little bit later. He was a fairly cool Spartan. Didn't get a lot of time out of him, unfortunately.
No, by the time he was a full Spartan, he died.
Next up, we have a Spartan that I think a few of us particularly like. We've got Kurt051.
I love him.
Yes. My personal favorite.
Yeah, he has the distinction of dying twice beside Blue Team. Died the first time in a fake-donny accident, and then he died a second time on Onyx. And we'll cover him later on as well. Now, the next two died together in what I think is a sad time, because Solomon in particular, Solomon069, great call sign, great Spartan, actually quite a cool looking character. He died rescuing Sexy Halsey.
No!
Boo.
Solomon was blown up rescuing Sexy Halsey by a booby trap, and Arthur079 was crushed between two Covenant ships trying to rescue Sexy Halsey.
And this was at Castle Base on Reach?
No, this was in Halo Legends.
Yeah, it's the CGI one.
Oh.
You know the one where they rescue Sexy Halsey out of her cryo tube and no one stops to spare a moment's thought for Solomon or Arthur?
I keep hoping they'll just decanonize that.
R.I.P.
It's probably not canon, but it's funny.
It's listed in their list of engagements, unfortunately, so it is there, yeah.
Oh, yeah, fair
So
enough.
Sexy Halsey is canon.
Apparently so, yeah.
Good.
The next two Spartans also died together. That is Anton044 and Lee008. They were both vaporized on the hull of the Ascendant Justice during First Strike. That's when they were in strange, crazy slip space. So they were both taken out by a plasma round.
Super slip space.
That was from one of Super Slip Space. It was just from the round ricocheting off of everything too, right?
Yeah, it just seared over the hull and took them and the dropship out, and that was the end of it. And then we have the last Spartan, that was William043. He had the unfortunate luck to be introduced in First Strike and killed off in Onyx.
He got crushed.
He got vaporized. Well, no, he didn't get vaporized. He got shot in the midsection. He killed a hunter in hand-to-hand combat, and then the other hunter killed him. Just shot him point blank in the face.
And then he was just gone, right? One of the Spartans were like, yeah, he was just not there anymore. Just his boots.
That's actually, it's in the Battle of, we'll cover that later. It's down along here. It's when they're in the museum in Côte d'Azur. It might actually be Will that, no, it's not Will. It might be Arthur or someone that lost their arm. I'll have to hunt that out as we go along here. But they thought the Spartan died and they didn't. But William unfortunately gets very much yeeted.
He gets very deaded.
And then Kurt also gets yeeted shortly after that, so...
So sad, I like Kurt.
He did take out a Spartan or a hunter in hand-to-hand combat. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he gets that.
Right, so next up I have gone through and made a list of the history and major achievements and operations of Blue Team. Now, we don't have to dive into them all, so very important, if you guys want to talk about one in particular, jump in. Otherwise, I will just roll along, because some of these we know in pretty good detail at this stage. So, we've got Blue Team was originally formed on Reach during training. It was John, Kelly and Sam. That was about 2519. They were first formed for the Ring the Bell mission on the obstacle course that John fucked up for everyone. That was Blue Team from day one. Fun fact, during the training, they were regularly put up against Green Team and regularly lost against Green Team because they were led by Kurt, and Kurt has a super sixth sense spidey sense.
Oh yeah, my boy Kurt.
Kurt!
That was kind of their training. We don't really need to go over the training, do we? We've done Reach so many times.
No, we're good.
I think it's important that the history goes back all the way to the very, very early days of boot camp. It's a long history that this team has gone through.
We go from there to the first official operation that Blue Team ever went on, and it actually is the first Spartan operation ever, which is Operation Talon, and that is when Blue Team, consisting of John, Sam, Kelly, Linda and Fred, were sent to infiltrate an asteroid base in the Eridanus system. They were going to kidnap Colonel Robert Watts and bring him back to the UNSC for trial. This operation went pretty well. John took some injuries, nothing particularly major. The Spartans made it back fine. The inhabitants of the asteroid not so well, because Sam blew the airlock gates off the dock and a whole load of people got vented into space.
They were imposters.
But they were just per dock workers. They weren't even like the guys guarding Colonel Watts. They were like the people unloading his cigars from the ship.
Oh, too bad.
So that was their first operation back in the good old days. The next major engagement that Blue Team would have would be the Battle of Chai City. And this is when they got their armor for the first time. This is a pretty influential battle for Blue Team. The short version is Dr. Halsey gathers up the Spartans. They've just been briefed on the events of Harvest. And Dr. Halsey is taking them to the Damascus testing facility on Chai City 4, where Mjolnir's being developed. She's going to take them there and equip them with their armor. So they jump on the Commonwealth and fly to the system where the Covenant appear. The Spartans go, get kitted out in their gear, and the Commonwealth engages the Covenant ship, which is the Unrelenting, which is a pretty good name for a Covenant ship. Almost a UNSC-worthy name.
It's weird because it's one word. Most of the time it's like something something. There's something of something. Like they normally have really big ship names. Way more elaborate.
It's usually more elaborate and a little more biblical, so Unrelenting's a bit of a short one there. But during the battle, the Commonwealth manages to punch a hole through the Unrelenting with its Mac gun. Chief takes Blue Team and decides the best thing to do to win this situation is to go and take the fight to the Covenant. So they board the Unrelenting through the hole in the side of the ship. They fight their way to the engine core, they plant some explosives, and during this battle, Sam takes a plasma round for Chief. And in doing so, Sam breaches his armor, and then Sam has to be left behind to guard the explosives because he can no longer go back into vacuum. And Sam becomes the first Spartan casualty. Well, the first Spartan casualty in combat anyway. Big moment for Blue Team.
Death is always a big moment, right?
So the Chief's kind of big moment of losing someone under his command. I know he felt it big when like they first got their augmentations and like the class got wiped, but this is their first like operation where he was directly in someone's command and had to order him to stay behind, more or less.
It's not even like he died and Chief couldn't do anything. He had to tell him to stay behind.
After literally saving his own life.
Yep, it's a big formative moment. We get it in numerous versions of the lore. There's a video version, there's books, all of it. Is it in the comic as well?
I think so, yeah.
So Sam dies lots and you can see it from lots of different angles.
Hooray!
Yep, next up we have the Battle of Cercinus 4. I'm going to say that's how that's pronounced.
Nailed it.
In 2552.
2526.
2526. Me no read so good. That was when Blue Team, John, Kelly, Linda and Fred were deployed as the Covenant attacked Corbulo Academy, which we may remember. The planet was eventually lost and Blue Team only managed to rescue 3 cadets from the whole shit show. But that was good live action Chief video, so definitely if you have a moment, go and watch Forward Unto Dawn. It's much better than the other live action show that we will not speak of.
Oof.
Next up, we have the Battle of Netherop in 2526, and that is the story of Halo Oblivion. You may remember that. That is
It was the weird one.
It was the weird Troy book.
Yeah.
It's a different story. It's not a bad story though, but it's a very different pace for what we get. There's a book club on that, so if you want the full rundown on that, you can go and listen to it. Next up, we have what may be my favourite operation name, Smoking Aces, in May 2531. And this is a mission where Blue Team were sent to Camp New Hope to capture 3 nuclear warheads that insurrectionists were offering to trade with the UNSC for supplies, but it was actually an elaborate trap to capture Blue Team. The insurrectionists use an anti-gravity plate and they basically stick Blue Team to it and their armor locks down to stop them being crushed. Fred, Kelly, Linda and Chief are all trapped and incapacitated. They have no way to escape, but lucky for them, they also happen to have Kurt reassigned to the team, and he used his spidey sense to not be there for the capture and save them.
Yay.
It's actually quite a cool story. I think that's the only time, really, the Insurrection have got the proper one-up on Blue Team. They were doomed to fail on that one if it hadn't been for Kurt. They may have scraped out of it at some point, but I don't know. It didn't look good for them. Next up, we have Operation Warm Blanket. That's the one with Sexy Halsey.
Of course. It's very warm.
To be fair, it's fun to look at.
It's animated beautifully.
It is done very well. I think Solomon is the coolest Spartan in that, and it's a shame that he appeared and died so quickly. We could do with a few more cool Spartan 2s brought out of the woodwork occasionally.
And space bikes.
Space bikes are also good as well. They've only ever appeared again in Escalation in the comics.
I think so. Somebody had one of them comics, and
I think Palmer takes them out for a spin at one point and saves the Infinity with them, which makes no sense because space bikes.
No Palmer.
Och no, she's not that bad. Stop it.
I thought you'd be taller.
We're not getting into this, no. Save it for Palmer's dossier.
Fine. The We Hate Palmer episode.
Next up, we have Operation Ocean Breaker, and that is July 25,
cool
52. It is pretty good. I like that. It sounds like a COD level or something.
No, you can't talk about COD in a Halo podcast. Are you crazy?
This particular mission, you may remember, is when Blue Team discover the Covenant in the city of Côte d'Azur on Sigma Octanus 4. If you remember back, they're in a museum, they've taken it over, they are scanning rock samples and beaming them up to a ship in orbit. Between Blue Team and Captain Keyes, they manage to intercept the data and get some good intel. In this battle, this is the one I was thinking of, James loses his arm during the fight, and they think for a moment they've lost James, because the hunter just takes a shot at him, but he managed to evade it and loses his arm instead. But they do eventually kill the hunters by dropping a big rock on one of them.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a very good Spartan move, shoot the floor through and kill it. Next big engagement, Battle of Reach.
It's a pretty big one.
Fairly well covered at this stage. Blue Team weren't involved in the main ground battle. Blue Team at this point was John, James and Linda, and they were on an orbital station trying to take out nav data on a ship that I believe, it was a Noni ship, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a Cole Protocol thing.
I think it was an Oni ship.
Yeah, it was disconnected from the network or something, and that's why Blue Team had to go and physically destroy the data. This one, Blue Team takes heavy losses and gets rendered down to John on his own. James gets shot in the back in one of his thruster tanks and flies off into space, never to be seen again.
It's pretty horrible. They can bring him back if they want to, though.
It's just like Kurt, just Oni captures him and just you have a special assignment. You're making the Spartan 10s, yeah!
He has potential to be brought back. Linda also came back from this, thankfully. She took an overcharged plasma round to the back and died. There's no way around it. She did die, and Chief had to put her on ice, and then eventually she was brought back.
By Dr. Halsey.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good battle. Chief teams up with Johnson and they save the day, destroy the ship and the nav data, and then get the fuck out of there and have the events of Combat Evolved.
I think it's pretty funny that Linda was in cryo for all of Combat Evolved and just found in space afterwards.
Yeah, just floating in space.
Well, he ejects the cryo, right before Keyes lands the Pillar of Autumn on the ring, he ejects all the cryo tubes. So Linda was basically floating around the ring for all of the events of Halo CE until John just happened upon her at the very end.
Crazy.
She has a really lucky escape because I think it's a bank of 2 or 3 cryo tubes, and the other person in the other tube had a dodgy seal and died.
Yeah, she was lucky. She was really lucky.
She really gets lucky out of it. Next up is kind of another big operation. This is Operation First Strike, and this is in September 2552. Now, I have it listed here, like I said, we mostly know the details of this. If we want to take a minute to talk about some cool sniping and stuff, now's your time.
Oh, this operation was basically just to kind of bridge the gap between Halo CE and Halo 2, so at the end of it, they end up near Earth. It's basically delaying the Covenant finding Earth, but we all know they do it anyway at the beginning of Halo 2, so it's kind of Chief getting out of the, destruction of the ring, trying to figure out what to do, meeting up with the rest of Blue Team, going to a Covenant base, fucking it up with some cool snipey stuff, and then going over to Earth.
It's also pretty cool to see that there's some politicking as well between some insurrectionists that you kind of get a window into, and who's the commander that they're talking with in that?
Admiral Danforth Whitcomb.
Yes, that's it, yeah.
Oh yeah, they find him. Yeah, he had a bad intro, but kind of makes up for it.
He comes off as a terrible human at the start, and you're just like, no, this is going to be really bad. And by the end of it, you're sort of sitting there with a wee tear in your eye going, he was the best of us. Oh, fun fact, just before we move on from this, I believe Admiral Whitcomb is listed as having the highest single kill count in the Halo universe.
Oh shit.
Because he was the one that authorized the activation of the Nova bombs that would go on to wipe out a massive Covenant fleet. So he has, I believe, the single largest kill count associated to a single individual in the Halo universe. Next up, one we can sort of chat about, but actually this doesn't get much mention in the games. It's the Battle of Earth on Fall 2552, but from the point of view of Blue Team, who at this stage in history are Fred, Linda and Will, because they don't know about anyone else. So their battle on Earth takes place over 2 weeks. It's kind of in the period between... It's between when the In Amber Clad leaves New Mombasa to follow Regret and before Chief gets back.
It's also before the space elevator, right? No, that's a different space elevator.
Yeah, that other space elevator's already collapsed at this stage. This is sort of running along... This starts with ODST around that time and runs for about 2 weeks until they leave. Blue Team have basically been assigned with trying to contain the Covenant around the planet. So they've got several battles. I think they fight a battle in Antarctica, they fight a battle on the bottom of the ocean, which I want to see underwater Spartan battles.
They tell us about it, but they haven't shown us it yet. That'd be nice to have a book or something around their battles.
And maybe like a gameplay where we could play underground and not like drown, because...
Spartans can swim, in fact.
Well, they can't swim, but they do sink to the bottom and have like cool Pacific Rim fights on the seafloor.
They fight the kaiju.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. The gist of this is their operation takes them to Havana, to the Centennial Space Elevator, where the brutes are loading up nukes and stealing them. So Blue Team hijack a lift, fly up the space elevator. They steal a Covenant destroyer, Bloodied Spirit. They destroy another Covenant destroyer and the space elevator with one of the nukes. And then they detect Dr. Halsey's help message from Onyx. And they get clearance from Hood to go and help. So he sends Blue Team to go and help them. So they go off and do that. And then that leads us to the events of Ghost of Onyx, which is Operation Cirrus.
And the reason that Kelly wasn't here at Earth is because she's in a cryopod with Halsey, correct?
Halsey kidnapped her, yeah.
Yeah, that's how Halsey, that's how she ends up on Onyx with the rest of Blue Team.
She almost uses Kelly as bait, like, hey, Blue Team, come get Kelly, we need you.
Yeah, what does she say? She says to the UNSC that there's weapons here that can turn the war. But it's basically just, I want to gather up as many of my Spartans as I can and hide in the bunker.
Yep.
Pretty much.
That is kind of the plot to Ghosts of Onyx. It is Blue Team and Kurt and the Spartan 3s fighting to survive as they make their way to the core of the planet of Onyx. Unfortunately, Will gets yeeted and Kurt get yeeted. So this leaves Blue Team with Kelly now again, and the Spartan 3s and Halsey and Mendez trapped in Onyx for a while.
It's a good kind of romp they have.
Yeah, and they would eventually be freed in the Kilo 5 books and get back out into the universe. And that would lead us on to their next big engagement is Operation Jovian Whistle, and that is July 2553.
This is a good one.
It is, yes. This is the story of Last Light. This is the Krista one.
Yeah, this is the one where Lopez and or Veda and Fred get all jiggy with it. It's kind of a mystery. It's kind of a crime mystery kind of book, but it introduces the Keepers and it introduces Trepid Eye, and it kind of starts the whole Ferret team, which is Blue Team and the Spartan 3s and Veda kind of hanging out.
Yeah, so we get this first one. This is like set up to what Blue Team are at now. Intrepid Eye's evil. She tries to, in one of the things I don't like about this book, she tries to hijack Fred's armor and almost moves his arm, which I really don't like because AI shouldn't be able to do that to Spartan armor. This results in Veda riding lockdown Fred down a hill like a toboggan, only to later find out that Fred was conscious the whole time.
Yeah, and he's like sitting there like blushing the entire time. It's cute. It's really cute. I ship them.
They're a nice couple, we like it. And that leads to Operation Retribution, which is December 25, 53.
They were busy.
They were very busy. These are the events of Halo Retribution, the novel, and this is where Blue Team and the Ferrets once again thwart the Keepers and Intrepid Eye to save the day from a bioweapon.
That story's pretty
straightforward, yeah.
It's another sort of mystery. It leads on to, fun fact, the bioweapon in question, which is made from an admiral's dead family, would go on to be the bioweapon that kills everyone on Argent Moon.
Oh yeah. What a happy story.
Thanks for that, Aaron.
Look, it was good for Blue Team. They got a mission out of it. Don't worry about that.
A mission out of it.
Next up is kind of a mixed story. So we've got the skirmish on Installation 03. This is from the Escalation comic books, the next 72 hours, which is a 3 comic book series where Black Team get fucked up and killed.
Oh no.
Yep, the Didact comes back from the dead for 3 issues only to be written out again.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, this is the first time that John would get his visor cracked so we could see his eyeball. They would eventually fuck the Didact up by dropping him and a section of Halo Ring into the Composer's Forge. And we think the Didact got composed. We're pretty sure he did. And Black Team got killed and no one really shed a tear for them.
No, they were kind of annoying. They had weird, sexy love triangles and shit, and we're not into that when it comes to Spartans. No sexy love triangles.
There's a weird Game of Thrones-esque family love story going on there that we're not here for.
No, we're not comfortable with it at all.
Nope. Okay, moving on. We're almost up to the modern day now. The events of Halo 5 are next, so we've got the raid on Argent Moon, the Battle of Meridian, and the battle on Genesis. Anyone want to talk about any of these in particular, or I know we've all played through them.
Just at the introduction, like bringing them back in, that intro video of Argent Moon is so fucking good. And like that was so hype coming into like Halo 5 of them. A big deal of, I think the comics brought back Blue Team, and it was just like, this is it now, the game is going to be Blue Team. And it just, obviously it was a swing and a miss because that isn't what it was, but I think Argent Moon was an awesome mission. It was great to just have all the characters voiced for the first time, have them all there, interacting with each other. I thought that was just so good.
And it gives us that cool introduction to Blue Team in the games, and they're like just cool, collected. They're very like down to earth compared to when we meet Osiris in Halo 5. Osiris basically crash onto the top of a mountain and destroy a fleet.
That's a great cutscene though.
I like that particularly when Blue Team line up as they're flying through space and just like take the window out with their weapons together. And just that like nice cool where they slide back on the deck as the air sucks out, and that's it.
And just a sly little duck as one of the elites kind of takes a swing at them.
They're just like this well-oiled machine, and they know exactly what they're doing. It's really cool. So the events of Halo 5 basically lead to Blue Team find out that Chief Sex isn't doing so well these days.
No, she's kind of crazy. She's taking the kids and run away.
They try to help him out, and he says, no, I can fix this myself, and then she tries to kidnap them all, because that's what you do.
For 10,000 years, specifically.
Because that definitely wouldn't piss them off any. But thankfully they get rescued at the very end by Osiris and Exuberant Witness. Who is, to date,
the best
monitor in Halo.
No.
Well, she can be the best monitor because Spark's no longer a monitor.
True, okay, fine. I accept that loophole.
That keeps everyone happy. We had that, and then next up is Operation Wolf. And this is October 25, 59. And this is the last entry we have for Blue Team to date. And these are the events of Shadows of Reach.
Yay! They go home and it's a great reunion and they meet all of their friends again and visit their old houses and have a good old pal of a time.
Yeah, definitely. That's how that went.
They find a bell and everything.
Yep, it absolutely didn't bring Blue Team to the edge of being completely fucked up.
No.
It's a really good novel.
It's great. We don't want to spoil any of it.
No, we don't want to go too far into it. It does set up some stuff, hopefully, for Infinite.
Just one or two things. Nothing major.
Yeah, just so we get a good payoff.
Right, so that basically takes us up to, this is the last time we have seen Blue Team as a present. We haven't seen them in any of the media so far for Infinite, which fills me with fear that they're not going to be in it.
I don't think they will.
I don't know, I hate to think the only time we'll have seen them in a game was in Guardians. It's such a waste of characters if we never get them back again.
It would really just depend on how they structure Halo Infinite to see how they implement multiplayer, from a campaign's point of view. Because obviously Halo 5 was built around this 4-player squad going through all these missions so that you had these AIs, but from what we've seen so far with Infinite, it's very clear that they're throwing you, the Master Chief, pretty much alone in this environment to kind of resolve where it needs to go. But not to say that they won't be in Infinite, but if they are, it would not be in the same capacity or implementation as Halo 5.
Also, Blue Team altogether are a little bit OP. It's hard to write a story around them because they're just so good at their jobs, basically.
That's an interesting part of it, actually, true. But then I do like in canon co-op. Do you know what I mean? I like that concept. That's one I did like how it was executed in Halo 5. It was cool being each different members and different starting weapons. That is very interesting. I wish they would have opened that up after you finish the game, though, that you could just kind of bounce through as different characters. I know that kind of breaks the story a little bit, but I think it's going to be even harder probably to do this in an open world game. So it's just so fascinating to see if they don't bring in a canon version, then we're 4 Chiefs rolling around.
The only hope I would have, but it seems like so much work to do it, would be that if you played co-op, they would just add in a member of Blue Team that you could play, but then they'd have to have different voiced lines, or else that character would have no lines, but then you're just a suit of armor. But I think it's really sad if we don't get them back. I did, like yourself, I enjoy that there are 4 characters there and you get to play as them, and they all have lines and dialogue and different skills and abilities and all the rest, and you're not just 4 Master Chiefs.
The game for sure seems to start about Chief on his own, but it also does see, and we know from the screenshots, it is about building up resistance, saving Marines. So there's gotta be other Spartans out there on this ring kicking around. I'd say maybe you are generic Spartan number 2, do you know what I mean? But whatever.
If I was a crazy betting person, I would hope that we've only seen the tutorial and maybe it opens up after that. Maybe if you can do co-op, but we will see.
Well, I'm sure it's early on, but yeah, we'll see how it evolves.
Right, so just while we're at it here, we have a quick list of notable media for Blue Team. So we've covered most of them already, but in case you were wanting to keep track, we've got Collateral Damage, Silent Storm and Oblivion, Fall of Reach, First Strike, Ghost of Onyx, Glasslands, Lone Wolf, Last Light, Retribution and Shadows of Reach. You wouldn't have to read those all before Infinite, but if you do, you'll have a really fucking good time.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with any of these stories when you want to know about Blue Team.
I don't think there's a stinker among them. They're all pretty good.
No, every time you get Blue Team together, it's a banger.
It's a fun time. And then obviously Halo 5 when you put that in.
Yeah, you can play through that as well. So I think that does that really cover us? What do we think? I sort of was saving it for the end, but we kind of touched on it. If you were to place your bets on, do you think you'll see them playable in Infinite?
No.
It's not giving off the vibes, but if I was to put money on it, I would say no, they're not.
We want it, but
The only thing I could see them doing is if a post-campaign type of a story, or kind of down the line,
a specific mission.
Yeah, it's like a 3-hour campaign where Blue Team suits up to go do a very specific thing after the quote-unquote main game. I can see them kind of playing with different sort of post-launch content in that regard, but in terms of what we get at launch with Halo Infinite, I think it's 100% going to be Chief, and it's going to be him basically alone with support.
I hear someone asking for Spartan Up Season 2.
No! Don't even say those cursed
I'm all for
words.
it if they handle it in a different way that's not spawn, use your ammo, die, and get more ammo.
Actually, it's just come into my head that there was a rumor a while ago that Infinite will also have missions that basically follow other characters that don't take place on the Halo. There was a rumor a while ago that you would have like an Arbiter mission that would be on Sanghelios. You know, if that was still something they were doing, I could totally see that that's where Blue Team would be, and that's why they're not with you.
Yeah, it's totally possible that Blue Team are spread out across all doing different things, and maybe you bouncing in and out of them every now and again.
So, you know, if they did that, I could live with it, but it'll be sad to have generic Spartans as co-op. Right. I think we've done pretty good here. That's a pretty detailed breakdown of where Blue Team have come from and where they've gone.
I think so.
Yeah.
Make a note of this and then see if we were right or wrong when Infinite comes out. Hopefully we're wrong and they're in the game and it's amazing. I'm quite happy to be wrong on this one. Our next character dossier in the series, we're going to cover the heavy hitters of the Infinity. So we're going to go with Lasky, Roland, and Sarah Palmer.
Boo,
don't be like
Palmer.
that.
Hey, come on, you two.
Look, if you keep doing this, I'm going to replace you with Colin. He likes Palmer.
Yeah, it might be good to have him on the show. Palmer needs one person to advocate for her.
I'll advocate for her. I don't think she's that bad.
Boo.
I just don't like how in like every other episode of Spartan Ops, she's like, all right, Spartans, we gotta save these eggheads again.
Alright, guys, we're going to do the thing.
She has been let down by poor material, that's all I'll say. She can be redeemed. She'll get there someday.
She'll get there.
I think, will that just about do us?
Yeah, if that just about does us, yes, check us out next month for the next episode of our Character Dossiers series. Thank you all for joining us. Like we mentioned at the top of the show, you can find every episode of all of our other shows on HaloPodcastEvolved.com, or you can search for their unique podcast feeds on your podcasting service. If you want to listen to everything all in one feed that we produce, you could just follow Halo Podcast Evolved on your favorite podcast service and leave us a review. Once again, special shout out to our patrons for your support of this show. Thank you guys so much, and you make all of this possible, like we continue to say. Head over to patreon.com/halopodcastevolved.com to learn more if you are not a patron. And finally, if you want to leave us a voicemail about Blue Team, about this series, about some of our other series, or really anything Halo related, you can give us a call at 205-EVOLVED, which is 205-386-5833. And with that, everyone, I've been your host, and until next time, evolved!
Evolved.